All right. Welcome everyone. This is our monthly webinar that we host. Um, every month we try to do a different topic on various things around pharmacy. Today we are doing how to sell your compounding pharmacy. I'm Owen Bondurant. I'm a partner in Independent RX. If you don't know Independent RX, we are a company that specializes in pharmacies. We help people start and buy pharmacies. We help people sell pharmacies, which is why we're here today. And then we do accounting for pharmacies, including compounding pharmacies. So I've also got my business partner, Tim Clark, on here. I'll let him introduce himself.
Good afternoon. My name is Tim Clark. I'm a pharmacist and I've owned 30 community pharmacies in Ohio, Illinois, and Missouri, and currently still own a long-term care and a compounding pharmacy with some retail here in Ohio. Main job is I help people on the consulting side when they're looking at exiting their business or transitioning it to help them sell it. And our team does a really good job of understanding the business side of it and also the operational side of things. And as we get a chance to talk to you today, we want to share some of the insights that we've learned over our ridiculous number of years in business. Which, if you go back to our founding, I guess it's like 80 years, so kind of ridiculous, but all good.
Yeah, thanks. No, this should be good. Just a couple housekeeping items before we get started. We are recording this. We will make it available on, LinkedIn, our website, YouTube. We'll be emailing it out probably in the next day or so. There is a Q&A at the bottom of your screen. We will be answering those either throughout the webinar at the end or at the end. So feel free to ask questions. And lastly, at the end, we'll put our contact information in. So let's get started. But I guess my first question for you, Tim, is why in the world are we doing just a webinar on how to sell your compounding pharmacy?
Well, that's a good question, because you would think that if you're just selling a pharmacy, it's just plug it and it's all the same. But as we've seen so many of our clients get more into compounding, and we've seen with the all the different changes in compounding, with the USP 800, that kind of put some people out but made other of you put both feet into the game. Compounding right now is really hot. It's an exciting time if you are a compounding pharmacist, and just like anywhere that you are in your business cycle. I mean, you should be aware that, hey, I am now doing something that other people really want to get into, and which, as we've been talking about things on the retail side, like DIR fees for way too long and we got a few more months to talk about them, and then hopefully we're done actually with this double dip. But compounding is a good business, and it's a good business because, as you know, we have an increased margin. Typically compounding pharmacies make 60 to 90% gross profit on a prescription, and they are actually able to get a large number of those dollars go into profits. And if you've got more profits, it makes your business more, just like in anything, it makes it more valuable. And then there's so many different buyers of compounding pharmacies now that you see that let's say doctors, wellnesses, aesthetics people, people are into like alternative medicine, or again, traditional, you got mail order, you've got virtual, you've got all these things that are leading more and more buyers to, let's say, products that are being compounded for men, for women, for weight loss. And again, for your, like we've always done, for your derm, for your vets. Then you got sterile, you got non-sterile, and these businesses have, better EBITDAs. than your traditional store, which makes it also different. And the valuations are typically higher because of all these attributes that make the business healthier. So, when we look at how we traditionally talk about selling a pharmacy, the same rules apply if selling a pharmacy that's compounding long-term care, or even, let's say, if you're selling shoes. I mean, all comes down to that the business has to be presented really well, and you as the owner have to always prepare your business to sell.
Yeah. So, I mean, you know, that's good. We know that compounding pharmacies are more valuable, that there's probably more buyers who, at least right now, who are aggressive to try to get more compounding. And they're more appealing due to the profit. And you mentioned preparing the store. So, I mean, what steps in your mind need, or maybe what tips or suggestions do you have to get the compounding pharmacy like ready to sell?
Well, a compounding pharmacy, again, I'm going to start with things that are similar to any pharmacy. That you have to have your financials in order. We've got to be able to get them timely. If you're dealing with an account that's taking you 3 months to give you what your P&L sheet is, and your balance sheet is never updated and it's the same every year, then you really need to do that for your business. And unlike some people who sit there and say, well, I'm not even looking at selling my business and I'm busy. What we've learned, as we do, our company does the accounting and tax and data analytics for like over 120 pharmacies. So like, we know that it's possible to give a pharmacy owner that information in a timely basis. So I think, for me, it's just setting those expectations for you. If you're looking at selling your compounding pharmacy, your financials still need to get done. I know you've got compounds that you need to get done, and there's things that you're working on and it's growing and all these things, but that's got to get done. Your
Yep.
tax returns have to get done. Your tax returns have to get filed. You have to, still have, then all those other things that maybe you're delaying because you decided to go into, let's say, a non-accredited pharmacy instead of an accredited. Are you still doing all those things that you need to keep your lab up to date and safe? So like, if you're preparing to sell, all those things that are, like, let's say, we tell you need to do anytime you're a business, they become even more important if you're a compounding pharmacy. Your scales
Yeah.
have got to be, calibrated. Your hoods have got to be certified. You've got to, make sure that your policies and procedures are, safe, that you're sending out your batches for testing. And if you're going to prepare your business to sell, and you're not doing some of the things that you should, but you just kind of blown it off, what I'm trying to get you to do is to not blow it off. Like, you've got to do those things, because not only is it a good thing to prepare your business to sell, it's good for your patients, because we want you to have a quality business to sell.
Yeah, and
And
I think, Tim, in this case, and I just thought of this, but you mentioned it's more important. Yeah, I think it's even more than important than in a retail business, because typically your buyer in a compounding pharmacy is going to be more sophisticated. They may have a CFO, they may have a compliance officer. Like, so they have the capability to do a level of diligence that, your individual just cannot.
that is, I didn't think about that till you said that. I mean, that is also, I mean, you're exactly right. I mean, because the people coming in to buy these things are more sophisticated, because they're typically bigger companies. And it
Yeah,
doesn't, and let's just say, if it was us buying another compounding pharmacy, like, we would still be more sophisticated than just a pharmacist buying a store.
correct.
I mean,
And
what,
that's
what
what
we
I'm
found
saying. Yeah,
is that you buying or selling, you've got to have someone who has some experience of knowing what you actually do, because, like, it really is that organizing it together that helps you get ready for that sale. because you're right. Someone who's looking at a compounding business isn't just like some guy who owns the Sunoco store across the street or the Shell gas station. I mean, it's somebody that 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 is more sophisticated, and
Yeah.
they're going to ask, what is your type of business? Are you doing
Yeah.
all just weight loss stuff? Are you doing all pain medicine as we did back in the day? What's your sterile, non-sterile mix? How often do you use the? Do you do this? And what is your equipment like? Do you have a USP 800? What is your? There's so many things when it comes to the compounding side of it. It is just really important that as you're looking at doing these things, I guess frankly, I mean that's where I think we can help them. I mean, I think
Yeah.
we can help them because the things that they haven't thought of. I mean, frankly, we've had to think of it for, again, not just ourselves, but for so many other people that it's not. I think there's a gift of knowing something so you can ask questions. I
Yeah.
mean, I can't ask questions if I got no experience.
Yeah, and you don't know what they're going to ask. I mean, you almost have to look at your business as if you were buying it, which is something that, I mean, I think we do. And but the buyer's going to ask, okay, what equipment do you have? How old is it? Does it need replaced? You know, they're going to ask things like, are you accredited? When's your next accreditation survey? What, can you provide the results of that? In your financials, they're going to ask, I mean, let's say you have a car on there and you're paying, the cleaning people to also clean your house, and you got, blah, blah, blah. They're going to ask about all that stuff, and you're going to have to be able to give them answers, or your accountant or whoever is working with you. So, I mean, I think you need to sit back and go, okay, what is my mix of business? What equipment do I have? When's the last time I updated my procedures, my SOPs? Like, really look at those things because they're going to ask for all of that. Yeah.
No, but that's also kind of why it's kind of fun to sell them or to actually run them. I mean, they're
Yeah,
complicated businesses.
they are,
I mean, they
but they're
are.
good.
I mean,
Yeah.
as we were talking before, they're good businesses to own and to grow.
And to sell.
That's and sell and sell. It's like it's
And I mean, I
if you were
know
just selling.
I know one of the other tips, and along those lines that you always say, regardless of the type of pharmacy, is just having everything look good. Right.
Oh
So
yeah, as and I think it was it last month we talked about the presentation, our presentation booklet, our info memorandum. Like how we prepare so that when someone's taking a first glance at a business, it's that information that first comes to them starts to create an impression that this is a solid business opportunity. These people know what they're doing. They didn't just stick it into an Excel spreadsheet and say, here it is. We did some analysis and work and scrubbing and things like that. So, I mean, that's a good point.
and when they visit your pharmacy, I mean, I do think they need to, again, get rid of the clutter if there is any, like make it presentable as if it was your house and you were trying to sell it. Like just walk in as if you were the buyer or a customer and go, should that be there? Like, how can I make this thing just look presentable? Because all of that does matter.
Well, it also matters to your employees who work for you. I mean, if they see you spending the time investing and making sure things are tight, neat, that creates confidence for your employees. It creates confidence for your customers, your patients, the doctors that you're working with. Um, we typically in our discussions about selling a business talk about it being like selling a house, which a lot of attributes are transferable.
Yeah.
So you do need to make it look good, but in our thing, we're trying to make it look good inside and out. um, which
Uh,
again, it's hard for someone to spend a lot of money on something that just looks pretty when it's a pharmacy. It's got to have
Yeah.
some meat and potatoes to it. I mean, it really comes down to that P&L and that tax return that you show me. That's really going to make me excited.
Yeah. And you mentioned employees. I feel like in a compounding pharmacy, employees become, I don't know, more important, or like
No, definitely.
passed on a ppharmacy once because of one key employee that was compounding. So what do you suggest? What are these what does an owner need to think about with regard to their employees in selling the business? Because the employees are
Well,
specialized here.
well, we and let me talk about things that we've seen. Um, we looked at buying a compounding pharmacy once, and the owner didn't really do the compounding. He had a compounding pharmacist that really ran that, and they had a nice HRT practice. So for typically women's hormones was what it was for, and she pretty much had everything except she didn't have like any employment agreement. She didn't have like a non-compete. She didn't have like some sort of profit sharing agreement that had some strings to it. She was just able to, again, and lots of people won't do this, but if you're the buyer, I'm thinking everybody's evil. I've got to go assume that you're lying to me until I find out you're not. I mean, that's where and you don't need to be a jerk about it, but that's where you start with, because you just can't wise wide open. I'm going to do this and I want this. That's like, as we talk to our people we help buy, is you've got to be calm, man. You got to, like, we got to go through this. This is, it may seem there's a rhythm to this, and there's a rhythm to this because we it's like peeling an onion or whatever. We got to get to this so we can tell you this seems good or it's going to be good. So as that you look at your employees, you've got to think of, okay, if I've got someone who's running the compounding thing, is there any reason why let's talk that they could just leave tomorrow and open up a place down the street? We were just talking with our team this week about
Oh yeah.
something happened locally to like I don't know
They've
if
been around
that
forever.
business was, I don't know if
Yeah.
they've been in business longer than my family, but I mean
Close
we've
to
known
it.
them for a long time, and their compounding staff just walked out on them to open up their own stupid compounding pharmacy, which is like, so I'm sorry, this is wrong. Like, whether it's illegal, it's probably not illegal, but I'm sorry, I'm going to tell you it's wrong. Like, you don't do that to people who what I've learned from my own mistakes is you always walk out the front door.
Yeah.
Always.
Yeah.
You're afraid to go have the confrontation, and it could be, you and your wife, your kids, or your professor, your banker, whatever. But it is much easier to just go there. I don't have to, at the middle of the night, do what was it Jim Irsay did, with the um, you know the
Colts.
Baltimore Colts,
Yeah.
right? What did he do in the middle of the night? He left. He packed up the trailer and he moved a football team all the way to Indianapolis. The
Yeah.
craziest thing in the world, especially to like, and you think about that, like what a football team meant to an area, and not to be inflating this even more, but a pharmacy feels the same way. I mean, like your community does like your pharmacy. You are completely unique and different than that big, let's say that big 503B, FDA compounding pharmacy, which we're and I guess if you have one of those, these attributes apply to you also. But typically most of our people are patient specific compounders, so 503As. So as you look into this, your employees are important. And what we would do is to just look, who are your employees, talk to you about it. You may have, a sterile, but you don't have a backup for that tech. So you got a
Yeah.
sterile tech, but no backup, or you've got, the person who does the order entries and not a backup. The thing that we always explain to our people who are starting or buying is that, relying on one person, no matter what, is just,
Yeah.
it's not a good business practice, because not that everybody's going to walk out and steal your business. The problem is, like, we get sick.
Yeah.
We get
And
sick, we have family emergencies. So, one of the things that you should do, gosh, at the end of this call, you can start, going through that mental thing with your employees. You can get that. And in my head is like, as we're talking to you about selling, is like, we want you to be prepared, just like me as a buyer looking at it, because I am going to be cautiously pessimistic.
yeah.
you know, like, I want to know what's going on here, and if you can tell me this is how it is, and if there's not backup, you don't lie and say there is. You just say this is the way it is, and but again, then you will explain why you made those decisions, which is typically what we get down to. Everybody wants to do business with someone who's transparent and and fair. They don't want to do business with people who they start suspecting they're not. And usually you can get by with one thing that may seem odd, but you start adding those onto there, then it can get people like in our situation, Owen. I mean, we walked away from that compounding pharmacy because we were just like, it just, it literally just made us not feel good. We were worried.
Yeah. And
I don't, if I'd go back in time, I would tell you, I probably would have bought it now because I don't think she was worth what I thought she was in my head.
yeah, probably not. But I mean,
But
you
but
have,
but that's how I felt.
yeah, you have two big concerns there, right? I mean, one, they could go down the street and open a store, and in the compounding world, like it's all doctor and referral based. So like they steal a couple doctors, it really hurts your business. Um, and then two, those employees, it's not like you can go to CVS and just grab any pharmacist. I mean, it's a
No, you can't.
specialized thing, right? And same with the technicians. Like, you got to steal them from hospitals or like other compounding pharmacies, and they're expensive.
Yep.
So, like, as a buyer, they're going to need. So, if those people, especially maybe not every single employee, but the key ones, if they've got, if you've secured them in some way with an employment agreement or a non-compete or a profit share that holds them accountable in those situations, it really is appealing to the buyer. Now that gets tricky because, when you go into this process, I just mentioned that people could steal your business easily by taking a doctor. Well, if it gets out that you're selling, that can also really hurt you. And so, securing these employees and just keeping things confidential becomes, I mean, again, almost inflated in a compounding pharmacy because, we the doctors start talking and then everyone knows that you're selling and then they're like, oh, well, I'm going to go to someone else.
No, and we've had clients that they do want to, like, for instance, they want to tell them immediately that we're for sale and this is what's going on and this is why, so that me, the owner, and I've been that owner, so that I don't feel bad, because I feel bad, telling my employees that we just did this or we sold it, right? Like, every owner feels bad, because we're different. See, we like our employees and we like our business, so it's just there's an emotional thing we got.
yeah. And and so then you want to tell people, but you just can't because
Yeah, that's
I mean, the buyer also doesn't want you, think about it from the buyer's perspective. They want to be able to secure these employees and not make them worried, and they want to keep them on. And if like they find out 3 months before they buy it that, you start losing employees and et cetera, it's gonna, it's gonna
you
devalue your business.
you I think that the rule of thumb is typically you only tell people that need to know,
Yeah.
and you keep that list tight.
Yep. Very
And
tight.
typically, that's like again, it could be your accounting team, your consulting team, it could be your attorney, it could be your spouse, your partner, like, there's some people that you're going to need to get through this,
Yep.
but Don, the delivery driver, doesn't need to know.
Yeah. And I mean, even when like we list pharmacies, like with a retail pharmacy, we may go, hey, retail pharmacy in Southwest Ohio for sale. Compounding, we might go, Ohio compounding or Midwest, so that way no one knows. Like, you almost have to broader it because it's easier to figure out who it is because there's only so many compounding pharmacies.
No, and that is a really good point, Owen. Like you need to make it confidential. You need to keep, it is there is also an art of trying to keep, some things close in and to your chest that but that's where you're looking at, selling your business. You've got to, like, you can't, as much as I think I could have done it all by myself, it's hard to do it by yourself.
Yeah,
Like for me, like I've been lucky that I've had, really good accounting and, tax attorney advice and people who I surrounded in my life that are, like different than me. Like, you need to have your circle of influence, that you've got people that do things that you're not really that good at.
yeah,
And
and they
as
do
we
need to know. I mean, for sure,
Oh yeah, yeah, they do need to know.
they're not going to tell anyone. Um, so you've mentioned a couple times that, you know, compounding pharmacies are valued slightly different and that they come with a higher value. Maybe can you maybe like, for example, do they have different multiples, for example, compared to what than a retail?
here's a simple thing. Things that make more money always have different multiples.
Yeah. And
Because when you do the math of looking at an amortization schedule, I mean, it's
they
easier to
can pay
buy a
more.
$1 million house than sometimes a $300,000 house without as much changing into your valuation. It's very interesting, but yeah, you get a compounding pharmacy again. Is like let's say some generalities of, like you were talking about EBITDA, and okay, like a regular community pharmacy, we'll just say it's 95% retail. You're probably at a 2.5, 3 times EBITDA. I mean, and I've seen some that only are going to get it two because there's so much brand DIR crap in it that it makes, they're filling stuff for and not making any money. Yeah, I mean, so the key of any of these valuation methods are that I got to prove to somebody that they can make money. On the
Right.
compounding side, again, because they do typically make more money, I would say instead of going, let's say, 2 to 3 for retail, you can probably go 3, 4, or 5 times EBITDA for a compounding pharmacy.
Yeah, and we've seen
And,
that.
and you're going to say, well, okay, gosh, Tim, you gave me this huge stinking range of 3, 4, or 5. And my answer back to you is going to be yes.
Yeah.
And there's a reason for that. It can be the mix of your business. It can be what the dollars are. It can be strategically, that we've got let's say a really strong information to show somebody.
Yep.
Like let's say a lot of people are looking for people who have multiple state licenses, right? They want to pick up. Oh, well, let's say you do Ohio, Indiana, Kentucky. Oh, you're probably going to get more on the EBITDA side than me, who's just in Ohio.
Yep.
I mean, and yeah, let's say both could make $300,000, but the guy who's got the opportunity, because now we've made our case better, that I got a better opportunity. It's like having, let's say, sterile and non-sterile business. Some people get afraid to go into the sterile business for lots of good reasons, right?
Yep.
But if I see an opportunity come across that I've got a compounder doing sterile and non-sterile, but their sterile really isn't pushed to the limit, I mean, they've got a chance to get a little bit more money because they got both. I mean, and it's
Absolutely.
like that's not something that shows up on your P&L or your tax return. That's something that comes up that they now know that you do that because they know your business. and that can increase the value of that. I mean, if you've got, again, maybe you've got niche products that you've had, and you know that can increase EBITDA. The other part that happens is that since the buyers are such different people for some of these businesses, we're not back to our typical SBA rules and guidelines.
Yep.
The fact of the matter
That's
is,
a good
someone
point.
who's going to the fact of the matter is somebody who's going to the bank, it doesn't matter some of these things I'm telling you, because to a bank, yes, they want to get comfortable with the businesses, but it all comes down to like the numbers people. And these number of people that work in a bank financing, they could
They have
not go out and
metrics
have
that they have to
coffee.
follow.
Well, they couldn't go out and have coffee with you and I because they'd be so boring.
Yeah.
Not to be mean about those people, but
But
sorry,
they
man.
also have metrics that they have to follow. Whereas, a strategic buyer, like you said, could go, well, you have Ohio, Indiana, and Kentucky, and you have a sterile room that's not being fully utilized, and I can move 100
Yes,
sterile in there a day, so I'm going to pay you 5 times earnings.
exactly.
Damn.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it does. I mean, those things do matter. How do you feel about accreditations? Do you think those provide?
Well, the thing it does for me is let's say a buyer or a seller is I've got someone else who's told me that they do their business the right way.
True.
I mean, that's what it gives me. I mean, you know, even I don't know, even you know, I went through the process, you know, looking at legit script.
Yep.
And you would think that, okay, why do I have to let everybody know that I have a valid DEA number and state license number, and I have insurance, you know, all the things that if you go look up on the NCPDP website, you go find everything about a pharmacy and how they operate right there. To me, if you've got a number, you probably could get, let's say, a legit script certification. But no, this is an outside party that will tell you that you can then now market yourself, you know, on the web, because now we know you're a real pharmacy.
Yep.
And again, the whole thing about it is the fact that it's hard to believe that there's people who say that they're a pharmacy, but they're not.
Yeah. And
It just
and I mean they do kind of suck, like PCAB's expensive, for example, and so is a couple of the other ones, but someone does come in and audit your business, whether we agree with everything they're doing or not. That it does go in and they look at your testing and they look at your equipment and they look at your lab and do all those things. So now, I can ask for the last survey and get what the survey results were. And
yeah.
that helps. And it's going back to what you were saying at the beginning of presenting your business. That's another document you can present that makes your business look good. Hopefully.
Yeah. Well,
Unless you
and
failed
then
it.
and then the other thing that's interesting about compounding, which is again totally different than a regular retail pharmacy, is the fact that, you know, the revenue is such an important number.
True.
Because you know, unlike retail pharmacy, where in some ways now your revenue number, I don't know, back in the day we used to say that your pharmacy is worth 25% of your revenue.
Right.
I mean, like, how can you say that when you know, then really the only thing I make money on is the generics, and I don't even know if I make money on that.
Right. Yeah, but now with compounding, I mean, there is still that rule of thumb that your business can sell for sales, right? For revenue.
That is a fair way to.
And we do see that.
I would definitely, like, if we're looking at a compounding business, and again, if it's doing 1.8 million of sales, I'm going to assume that it really should come up to be worth, you know, their sales number.
Yeah.
You know, like, and I don't know if I've seen a lot that have a huge variation down on that.
No, not down. I mean, we do see it go
I
up.
think if anything, maybe up, because again, what you're really hoping for, like if you're the seller, if you're the seller, you're hoping that someone has something that they need me as we'll call it a platform business.
Yep.
You know, platform businesses are enviable businesses to have, because now I can do lots of things, even just having a pharmacy license. To be honest with you, some people, and we worked with one of the major companies that does home deliveries of your McDonald's to your kids. And they were looking at getting into the pharmacy business, and they have a different idea of what that kind of business is worth, because they also have another way, we'll call it another consumer trap, in terms of what they charge.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, being a smaller business can also put you in the ability to be a platform business for a bigger player. So, which again will increase the value of your business. I mean, it's just
Yeah.
it's not as
The
simple
beauty of
as,
compounding right now. I mean,
well,
it's a business that people want to be in and see
well,
as a platform to do other things.
compounding is well, here it's a huge platform, because not only can you fill a prescription that comes in a ready dispense container, you can make something.
Yeah.
So the more opportunities that I have to make money, the better my business is for me and my family.
Yep. Yep.
And I think, on you and I have talked about there is and I try to get people to get into niches. And the reason I do is because you do have to chase a dollar. You can't eat a prescription number, and you can't eat a percentage point. The only thing, and this came from my dad, the only thing you can eat is really things that cost dollars. So I need dollars to be worth anything. So, as I'm looking forward, I mean, I've got to find things that are worth my time and effort to market to. A lot of people don't understand that, like, they think that, oh, I bought this pharmacy, I don't have to invest any more money. Well, if you don't want to invest any more money, then you don't go into the compounding business, because, like, when your dad was my partner, I think you remember, we're always like, one day we're going to make money out of this thing, but there's always something else that they need. I mean, a compounding pharmacy, I mean, it's like, oh, well, now I need this scale instead of that scale. I need, this ungulator, or this, there's
Yeah. Now I
so
have to
many,
expand
there's
this
so many
lab
things.
because we've grown and we need more lab space and
In a retail pharmacy, we're just talking about buying inventory. That's the thing that it typically needs. The equipment.
but
But
I
I
think
guess as we got into computers, we got to buy scanners. But all those are pennies compared to what it costs to run a compounding
I
pharmacy.
think what you're trying to say, and I mean, we usually say that at the end of most of these sell webinars is, you know, when you're, we talked about getting your financials together and getting the right equipment and looking at these are all things you can do to prepare, but it's really things that you should do every day and get in the habit of doing because it'll make your business more valuable.
Well,
The earlier you can do that, the better.
and I know everybody sits there and thinks that, oh, well, I just need a business valuation. Like, oh, I can get online, and, even our website, you can get online. We can give you some tools to create a valuation. That's just numbers. Okay. But having a true valuation is having a discussion with that owner. Because, like, when we do evaluation, which is sometimes like the starting point of our relationship with someone, either on the, let's say it could be that they could end up being an accounting, client, or they could be someone who wants to buy or sell a store with us. I mean, you need to go through these things.
Yeah, and start doing it earlier on in the process because I mean,
Yeah.
well, it'll make your business better, but also when you do go to sell it, it'll make it more valuable.
Well, a lot of us, we don't ask questions because we're afraid of what the answer is going to be. But in this instance, I would say it's worth it to go through the idea of doing my own investigation into my own business because it's mine.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so there's lots of different opportunities, for the pharmacy business. And, today we just want to make sure everybody has an opportunity to see that, compounding pharmacy does have different opportunities on the sell side than maybe you really thought of.
Yeah, really than any other pharmacy. So hopefully this was valuable. We do record all these, like I said at the beginning, and we'll be posting it to our website, social, YouTube, sending an email out. So that'll probably be the next day or so. We are putting our info in the chat. So you can grab that if you want to get a hold of us, or simply just go to our website, independentrxconsulting.com, and you can schedule a call with us or what have you if you want to talk through anything. Thanks for the time. Any parting words, Tim?
No, thanks for hopping on the call with me and talking about it. I mean, it makes me excited. I mean,
Yeah.
there is some still really good things about pharmacy. We unfortunately always talk about all the things that stink, but it's good to talk about something that's good about what we do.
Yeah, compounding's awesome.
It is. I mean, like my grandfather, he made money making compounds and chocolate shakes or sodas.
Yeah,
So like
which are
it,
also
it,
great.
it wasn't having a bottle of Tylenol on the shelf or a bottle of lisinopril. He never made any money doing that, and this is why it's generational. It's a generational opportunity.
Yeah, it's just coming back around.
So who would have thought that?
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks everyone.
Thank you, On. Have a good day.